She sold out a stadium in 30 minutes, and she's not even top 10. A 21-year-old walks into Toronto. She's never played there before. She's ranked outside the top 10 in the world. And within 30 minutes of her match being announced, every single ticket is gone, forcing organizers to rip up the schedule and move her to the biggest court in the building. This isn't Serena Williams. It isn't Naomi Osaka. It's a girl from Quezon City, Philippines, named Alexandra Eala. And what happened at the National Bank Open in Toronto this week wasn't just an upset on the scoreboard. It was a moment that tournament directors, broadcasters, and even her fellow players are still trying to explain. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why one tournament director looked a reporter in the eye and said he had genuinely never seen anything like it in his career, and why what's happening around Alex Eala right now might be bigger than tennis itself. Stick around, because the story behind that sellout is even more unbelievable than the headline. Before we get into it, if you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We cover breakout sports stories like this one as they happen, and trust me, you don't want to miss where this one goes. The phone call that started it all. To understand what happened in Toronto, you have to rewind a few days. Alexandra Eala had just come off the best week of her career. At the Mubadala DC Open in Washington, she did something no Filipino tennis player, man or woman, had ever done before. She won a WTA Tour singles title, beating 3 top 15 opponents along the way, including Naomi Osaka, Jessica Pegula, and Alina Svitolina. It was historic. It was the kind of run that gets a player noticed. But for the organizers of the National Bank Open in Toronto, the reaction that followed wasn't just about tennis analysts taking notice. It was about phones ringing off the hook. Tournament director Karl Hale has run one of the oldest WTA 1000 events in the world for years. He's seen Grand Slam champions walk through his gates. He's watched legends play on his courts. But he says nothing prepared him for what happened the moment Eala's name went up on the schedule. "It's incredible," Hale told TSN. "It's something we've never seen before this early in the tournament." Here's the number that stopped everyone in their tracks. Tickets for Eala's first-round match against American Alicia Parks sold out in 30 minutes. Not 30 days, not 30 hours, 30 minutes. And that put the organizers in an impossible position. A stadium swap nobody saw coming. Eala's match had originally been slotted for a smaller court. But once ticket sales for that Wednesday night session exploded, officials realized there was no way the venue could hold the number of fans trying to get in. So they made the call: move her to center court at Sobeys Stadium, a venue that seats roughly 10,000 to 12,500 people, depending on configuration, sharing the marquee night session alongside Canadian home favorite Leylah Fernandez. Think about that for a second. A player ranked outside the top 5 in the world was given equal billing with the tournament's biggest home soil star, purely because of ticket demand. "We've never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 have this type of effect," Hale said. "I think her fans were specifically waiting to see when she played." And he wasn't exaggerating about the anticipation. According to people inside the ticketing office, Filipino fans across Toronto had been calling for weeks with the same 3 questions on repeat. When does she play? Who does she play? Where does she play? The moment the schedule was posted and her name appeared next to a night session at Sobeys Stadium, the switchboard lit up, and within half an hour, the session was gone. So here's the question worth sitting with as we go deeper into this story. How does a player who isn't even a top 5 seed generate more urgency than former Grand Slam champions on the same draw sheet? The answer has almost nothing to do with her ranking, and everything to do with where she comes from. The community behind the roar. The Greater Toronto Area is home to one of the largest Filipino communities outside the Philippines itself. Estimates put the number at somewhere between 250,000 and 300,000 people of Filipino descent living in and around the city. For years, that community has cheered from a distance as Filipino athletes made noise on the world stage. Now, for the first time, one of their own was walking onto a stadium court less than an hour from their homes. Jason Maggendi, Tennis Canada's Senior Director of Ticket Sales, is Filipino himself, and he was one of the first people inside the organization to sense what was coming. He'd been fielding calls from the diaspora community for weeks, all asking about Eala. When he compared the scale of the excitement to anything he'd witnessed before in Filipino sports culture, there was really only one name that came close. The only thing I know of with this kind of hype among Filipinos in the sports realm would be the boxer Manny Pacquiao, Magjeni said. Let that comparison sink in. Manny Pacquiao, a national icon, an 8-division world champion, arguably the most famous Filipino athlete of all time. And a ticketing director is putting a 21-year-old tennis player in the same breath, based purely on what he was watching happen in real time. By his estimate, roughly 8 out of every 10 fans inside the stadium for Eala's matches were of Filipino heritage. Philippine flags didn't just appear in isolated pockets of the crowd. They draped entire sections. Families who had never been to a professional tennis match in their lives showed up, some later admitting it was their first time ever attending a live tennis event. One fan, Warren Paul Katakutan, designed custom white t-shirts for himself and his friends featuring Eala's name alongside the words, "Rise, Believe, Inspire." That's not the kind of merchandise you throw together for a casual outing. That's the kind of thing fans make when they feel like they're part of something bigger than a single tennis match. And it wasn't just fans who noticed the shift. Even the sport itself seemed to bend a little to accommodate what was happening. Adobo on center court. Here's a detail that might sound small, but it tells you everything about how deep this moment actually went. Midway through the tournament, the concession stand near center court quietly swapped its usual chicken teriyaki rice bowl for a new item. Chicken adobo, one of the most iconic dishes in Filipino cuisine. It wasn't a marketing stunt planned months in advance. It was a direct, in-tournament response to the wave of fans arriving specifically to see Eala play. Karl Hale said he couldn't remember another instance in his career of a tournament adjusting its food offerings mid-event because of a single player's fanbase. Think about what that means. This wasn't just a strong ticket week. It was a cultural moment large enough to change what's being cooked behind the scenes at one of the biggest tennis tournaments in the world. And when Eala actually walked onto that court, the atmosphere matched the hype in every possible way. The match, the chant, and the moment she grabbed the mic. Wednesday night, center court, a capacity crowd, wall-to-wall with Philippine flags, banners, and fans in blue and white. Across the net, American Alicia Parks, a dangerous, powerful ball striker who was determined to play spoiler. Eala came out sharp, dominating the first set. Parks fought back and forced a decider. And in front of a crowd that was already deafening before the match even started, Eala closed it out, winning 6-1, 4-6, 6-2 in just under 2 hours, converting the final 4 games of the match to seal it. The moment the last point landed, the stadium erupted. Fans didn't just applaud, they chanted her name so loudly, so repeatedly, that the chair umpire had to ask for quiet multiple times during earlier points in the match just to keep play moving. Eala instantly became the first Filipino player in history, man or woman, to win a main draw match at the National Bank Open. But the moment that really went viral wasn't just the win. It was what happened right after. Instead of doing a standard courtside interview, Eala grabbed the microphone and addressed the crowd directly in Tagalog, thanking them by name for the community they'd built. Hundreds of Philippine flags waved back in response. She later told reporters that out on that court, surrounded by that many people speaking her language and wearing her country's colors, she felt completely at home. Out there, I felt very at home with all the people supporting me, Eala said following the win. She wasn't the only person moved by it. Leila Fernandez, the Canadian star whose mother is Filipino-Canadian, has felt that same wave of support throughout her own career and spoke about what it means to see a community show up like that for one of their own. Here's where the story could have ended. A great win, a great moment, a heartfelt speech. But if you think the Eala effect started in Toronto, you're about to find out just how wrong that is. This has been building for over a year. What makes Toronto remarkable isn't that it happened. It's that it's part of a pattern, one that's been building steadily for more than a year, across multiple continents, regardless of Eala's ranking at the time. Rewind to the 2025 Miami Open. That's where a lot of tennis insiders say the wave first started to build, when Eala advanced deep into the tournament and knocked out multiple top 5 opponents along the way. It was the first real signal that something unusual was happening around her. Then came last year's US Open in New York. Eala's first-round match had the atmosphere of something much bigger than an opening round contest. An energized, packed crowd behind her from the first point. She came back from behind to win it, becoming the first player from the Philippines ever to win a match at a Grand Slam tournament. A few months later, at this year's Australian Open in Melbourne, fans lined up for hours, some queuing back toward the main arena, just to catch a glimpse of her main draw debut on an outer court. She was ranked 49th in the world at the time and ended up losing that match. It didn't matter. The crowd showed up anyway and kept showing up. Then there was the Qatar Open in Doha earlier this year. Same story. Eala lost in the first round, and the stands were still packed with fans there specifically for her. Karl Hale said his organization had been quietly tracking this phenomenon for months before Toronto ever happened, watching the pattern repeat itself tournament after tournament, city after city. All the tournament directors are talking about it, Hale said. Everybody in the industry is talking about it. That's the part that should really stop you in your tracks. This isn't one lucky night in one city. This is a 21-year-old who is now being discussed, tournament to tournament, as one of the biggest drawing forces in the entire sport, win or lose. Was she even supposed to be at full strength? Here's something that made Toronto even more improbable. Eala arrived in the city just days after that grueling DC Open title run, a run that included 3 consecutive matches against top 15 opposition. Reporters openly wondered whether fatigue might catch up to her on Canadian soil, so soon after playing arguably the best tennis of her career. Hale said his team had been in constant contact with her team throughout, and he wasn't worried for a second. She has been incredibly loyal to her fan base, he said. There's no way she's going to let them down here. She didn't. And now, with a first career National Bank Open win under her belt, her run in Toronto continues. She's set to face American Katie McNally, ranked world number 70, in the round of 32, in what's expected to be yet another packed house on center court. What this really means. Strip away the ticket numbers and the highlight reels for a second, and what you're left with is something much bigger than one athlete's win streak. The Philippines is a country of more than 100 million people that has waited a long time for a global sports icon outside of boxing. For decades, that role belonged almost entirely to Manny Pacquiao. Now, a growing wave of Filipino fans in Toronto, in Melbourne, in Doha, in New York, in Washington are finding a new athlete to rally behind, and they are showing up in numbers that are forcing major tournaments to change their courts, their concessions, and their entire scheduling logic around a single player. Eala herself has talked about the ripple effect back home, saying that tennis participation across the Philippines has surged as a direct result of her rise. Courts becoming harder to book, more people of all ages picking up rackets for the first time. Online, I'm seeing everybody is playing tennis, people picking up rackets of all ages, Eala said. I hear stories directly from them of how they have picked up tennis or other racket sports. So when a tournament director stands in front of cameras and calls a 21-year-old ranked outside the top 5 an absolute blessing to the sport, it's worth asking, what is it actually going to look like a year from now, if this keeps growing at the pace it's growing right now? Because if the last 12 months are any indication, from Miami to New York to Melbourne to Doha to Washington and now to Toronto, this isn't a peak. It might just be the beginning. Before you go, if this story gave you chills the way it gave us chills putting it together, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're tracking Eala's run through the rest of this tournament and beyond, and there's a very good chance the next chapter of this story is even bigger than the one you just watched. Drop a comment and let us know. Do you think Alex Eala becomes the biggest draw in women's tennis by the end of the year? We'll see you in the next one.